Still on the Benin Republic issue, we'll bring in Paul Ejime, renowned Nigerian journalist and media expert with over 4 decades of experience in journalism. He's a global author, global affairs analyst, and former war correspondent who had reported from conflict zones including Liberia and Sierra Leone. Great to have you, Oga Paul, like I fondly like to call you. Oga Paul, in all of this, we condemn Coup in its entirety, but Talon is not a saint. Talon just passed a law with the National Assembly as Saturday to be able to bring in a Senate, which is supposed to be a constellation of some former, top political honchos in Benin Republic to oversight the lower house. He's been high-handed. He's deliberately putting his own Minister of Finance to be his likely successor and stifled opposition. All right? So Talon in all of this and all this, and I want you to speak to the behavior of some African leaders to themselves while we condemn in its entirety what a coup is.
Well, thank you very much, Rufai on fire, Dr. Abati and Pastor Ayo. We are dealing with coup contagion in our environment, which has been enabled and facilitated by rulers, political rulers. They are not leaders. That is my take. And what has happened now is that because ECOWAS has failed to act when it needed to, the politicians are doing whatever they pleased and without consequence, impunity and no consequence. And when the civilians try to protest, they use the military to suppress them. Now the military has now found a way to say, well, listen, you are using us to do this your dating game. We can also be on our own. Why don't we take power by ourselves and then test it? And once they have done it, power, corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. What we have had in the last 2 weeks, by the way, I was in Guinea-Bissau to watch that comic of a coup. In fact, after that, one was saying that Mbalo should have come to Nigeria to meet Nollywood producers on how to organize coup. Because it was so brazen, it was so comical, that observers were there, and I likened it to a proverb in Africa where somebody in a market square will steal something and try to hide it behind his back in the full glare of the traders and then their customers. This man, because he has been enabled to do this, he threatened to expel ECOWAS and UN mission in March. Nothing happened. He has sacked the parliament twice. As we speak, Guinea-Bissau has no parliament. He has, tampered with the appointment to the judiciary. All the judges are his appointment, appointed by him, and so on and so forth. He changed the timetable for the election, giving himself about 7 or 8 months, saying that his tenure did not end in February, so it was in November. And here we are, as soon as the Electoral Commission was to announce the result, a day before they were going to do that, he saw that he wasn't going to win. Now he manufactured this coup. And like you said, those that are there are his allies, beginning with General Hunter, who took over. In fact, the Prime Minister was his campaign director in the election of 23rd November. So you say, how can this man have that guts to fool not just his country, but the whole world? And that was why, and when ECOWAS had gone to that mission in March, he told them not to meet with the opposition. And ECOWAS people now there said, no, we cannot do that. It was when they now tried to meet the opposition that he threatened them, that he went out and said, If I meet you there in Bissau,
okay,
you are going to go not even by flight, you go by road.
okay.
That is the kind of impunity that these people have, what they are doing. And the same thing, ditto for Benin, for where? Togo. Alassane Ouattara in Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
Everywhere in the Gambia.
Okay.
You know,
all right,
so
Mr. Paul.
The reign of impunity.
Yes.
So, well, I didn't quite get your question, but I'm just giving you the background of what is happening.
No, but you did well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's important.
So talking about been doing the same thing.
Yeah, talking about the background, and I think it's a very key point because yesterday I was watching an analysis on this, and someone was talking about, which I quite agree with, that democracy is under threat because the leaders themselves are not upholding the tenets of democracy, so the people are not enjoying the dividends of democracy, hence the reason why in some areas there's a support when a coup plot happens like this, where the people are like, okay, you know what, we're not even enjoying the democracy. But I want to ask you a question. ECOWAS has responded saying they do not support this. Nigeria has sent boots on ground. But in addition to this military force, how should the region, or what should the region be doing to protect democracy? Because we've said, whilst we have military coups like this, there's also democratic coups where we have sit-tight leaders, we have elections that are flawed, thereby the process by which leaders are selected is flawed in its entirety, and people have lost trust and confidence in the process. What should the ECOWAS region be doing in addition, or perhaps even more than boots on the ground?
It is to play by the rule, or the rules. There are the rules to this game, and that is starting with the Constitution, the electoral laws, obeying them, but they are not. You see what they do? They tinker with the Constitution, change it, and also with the connivance of the people, because the citizens are also guilty here. Each time they will go and do what you call a referendum, like the man in Guinea has now done. He wants to, participate in the election after the coup. So he changed the constitution to enable him to participate. And guess what? The percentage of the yes vote was almost 90%. Who are the people voting? It is the people. You will say, well, there is money, the power of money. They try to weaponize with poverty and all that, and some are voting out of fear. But it is the time now for the citizens to take back power. These rulers, they are not delivering on the dividends of democracy. Some people say democracy has failed. No, but my theory is that it is the people that have failed democracy. They are not the practitioners, the operators. Because you will have a law there, the Constitution, but they decide to change it. And like you said, we have had so many constitutional coups, electoral coups, violation of human rights. These people do not even tolerate opposition. In Talon's Benin, the woman was jailed. But what did she do? Reka, Magoto. Because she had the gut to challenge Talon in an election in 2020 or so. She was jailed 20 years in 2021. And she's still with terrorism. That is what you have. So these people invent their own rules.
If you can hear me.
And ignoring the Constitution.
Paul,
yes,
if you can hear me.
I am with you.
Now, okay.
Yes, I
justification. I know all these stories about Article 8 of the UN Charter, which talks about, which justifies the kind of thing we have seen in terms of intervention. ECOWAS protocols, Article 21, Article 25. All of those are clear to me. But I would like to ask you, Nigeria's intervention. Nigeria issued a statement saying there are two requests from the Republic of Benin, asking them to come cover the airspace and also cover the ground, sending ground troops. Now, on what authority and which authority and whose authority did President Bola Ahmed Tinubu send our troops into Republic of Benin? What will be the justification, in your view? I have my own ideas, but maybe in the course of the program I will say so. But I would like to hear from you first.
One is that I will say that the danger was coming too close to home. And if Nigeria didn't do anything, it could become the next target. That is one. Two, you can see what I call the externalization of the Benin issue. By the way, the man who organized the coup had appeared on a different channel, foreign channel, to say that he was alive, and then berating French media to saying that he was dead or he has been arrested. So you can see that it has brought in so many interests. So what are we talking about? In intervention like this, of course, like ECOWAS went to Liberia and Sierra Leone before going to the UN to get approval of that Article 7 that you are talking about. In the case of emergency,
Chapter 8.
Yes.
Of the UN.
Chapter 8. In the case of, in this case, I think when fire is in your house, in your neighbor's house, you don't start playing. I think that is what they have done, to really go out there. And so it has come with what I call some coalition of willing members. I think France is involved, Nigeria is involved, Ghana is also involved, and so on. So they decided to say, listen, we can nip this problem in the bud. And for me, I think this is probably the kind of things that Nigeria ought to have been doing. Well, we have Boko Haram and insurgency and, jihadists in Nigeria. We have not been able to deal with that. But at the same time, we also had such problems before when Babangida took Nigeria to ECOWAS, to Liberia. Initially, it started with the fact that he wanted to save the skin of his friend, Samuel Doe. Okay. But whatever reason, if now a government that has been elected is uprooted through unconstitutional means, you can do this and later begin to look for the justification, provided you do not overdo it or there is no too much casualty.
Except that, Paul, our constitution is supreme as a sovereign state. I will try to resolve that when the subject comes up again. Section 5 of the Constitution, subsections 4 and 5, and also Section 305, 2 and 3. But this is not the time for the analysis. I'll come to that later and try to help government resolve the conundrum.
We'll definitely be talking about this in more detail in the course of the show, but I'd like to thank you very much, Paul Ejime, for your time with us this morning.